Thank you very much, Sean Corda. And the first comment I have to make is CDNT4. And I find out there's more than one CDNT4 in the country. And it's a funny way of naming things. But the one I'm talking about is the one in Connemara that covers all of Connemara. Now, first of all, it's based in Spiddal, and Connemara is as big as most counties on its own. It's a huge geographic area, particularly when you have to drive around the inlets and the bays and the mountains and the hills. The problem, I think, is best outlined that we all know that early intervention is really beneficial for young people, for children. And the earlier the intervention, and the more thorough it is, the better. And giving excuses as to why it's not happening isn't any good for those children for the rest of their life. And you are talking about affecting people's permanent future. You're also, in the long term, imposing a huge cost on the state in terms of more intervention needed, because, as they say, a stitch in time saves 9. And I think the case, I'm obviously not going to mention who was involved in the case, but the case of a young person, and I raised the issue in relation to physiotherapists, occupational therapy, speech therapy. I understand that with physiotherapy there's an appointment about every 3 to 4 months. And what I'm told is, I love the terminology, the child is wait-listed for individualised team intervention from speech and language therapy and occupational therapy. Unfortunately, CDNT4 are not in a position to identify timeframes for children to be taken off the waiting list. This child went on the waiting list in October 2021. Now, it goes on to say that CDNT4 continues to have recruitment challenges and all the efforts they're making to recruit. I have to say that that doesn't wash with me. Because as I was sharply told one time when I started giving excuses, excuses do not get the job done. And we've often seen in the state when a thing becomes urgent, and that's why I'm highlighting it here today, when a thing becomes urgent, when it's seen that people aren't going to lie down and just accept this second-class service, suddenly, miraculously, ways are found of getting the service, or procuring the service, and providing the service. And I have been, on behalf of many people, chasing down the lack of services in CDNT4, otherwise known as the Connemara Children's Disability Network Team, for a long, long time. And Minister, what I need to know today is quite simple. Not all the problems that CDNT have, that's HSE problem, that's not my business. My only concern is to when will these children get a service? When will they get the service when they need the service? When will we adhere to the principle of early intervention and the stitch in time saving 9?
Thank you, Ceann Comhairle, and thank you, Deputy Ó Cuív. My colleague Anne Rabbitte, the Minister for Disabilities, is fully committed to the continued development and enhancement of our children's disability services through the CDNTs as they seek to ensure equitable access to services for all children with complex needs. I acknowledge the difficulties faced by children and their families seeking to access the services of Children's Disability Network teams in CHO2, and in this particular instance CDNT4. Minister Rabbitte wishes to reiterate her unhappiness at this situation and her commitment to addressing the underlying issues. The Children's Disability Service in Community Healthcare West, CHW, was reconfigured into Children's Disability Network teams in January of 2021. There are 9 CDNTs in CHW, including CDNT4, which broadly covers the West Galway-Connemara area. Recruitment of staff in order to reduce waiting lists has been an ongoing issue, especially in this region. Presently, there are significant challenges both nationally and globally regarding the recruitment and retention of staff and social care professionals, particularly to children's disability services. Following an intensive national recruitment campaign, we have recruited nearly 30 staff in the CHW region to date in 2024. And while CDNT4 have only been able to fill one post from this campaign, further campaigns are being run in an effort to attract suitable candidates to this area. While funding has been allocated, vacancy rates in CDNTs unfortunately remain high. In terms of CDNT4, the HSE advised the vacancy rate currently stands at 50%, with 6 staff in place, but 6 posts also vacant. CHW are fully committed to providing a quality service to the CDNT cohort of clients, and every effort will be made to increase staffing numbers in order to support this during the remainder of 2024. These efforts are ongoing, both through the HSE's National Recruitment Service and HSE HR at a local level. Additional measures are also being progressed under the PDS roadmap to ensure capacity on CDNTs. And these include, firstly, student sponsorship programs for HSCPs. These are health and social care professionals. Secondly, the target of 175 therapy assistants to support HSCPs in delivering most effective and efficient services in environments appropriate to each child's needs, and dedicated work on marketing CDNTs as a workplace of choice. While recruitment measures are ongoing, I can advise that the HSE is driving forward several initiatives to reduce waiting times and to strengthen services for children waiting. And these efforts include sourcing assessments from private service providers. A new waiting list initiative with a total fund of €6.9 million will target those families waiting longest for AONs, with the HSE reimbursing clinicians directly through the procurement of capacity from approved private providers. This initiative will be progressed through the existing framework of providers procured by the HSE, and it is expected to provide an additional 2,500 assessments over a 6-month period. While recruitment and retention of staff to CDNTs remains a considerable challenge, Minister Rabbitte wishes to reaffirm her commitment, as well as that of the HSE and Department, to exploring all avenues in order to improve access to CDNTs for children and their families in CDNT4 and across the country. Thank you.
One answer I didn't get is the only answer I want. When will this child and all the other children get a service? And if what's been done isn't tackling it fast enough, what are they going to do to tackle it even faster? Because they haven't got to the 2021 list yet. And therefore, there's always a way. Do they need to pay more money? I don't know what they need to do. One thing they could do, by the way, Minister, is I know of one person with a skill, one of the named skills here, who came home to live, but from the area, came home, had worked for the NHS in London, fully qualified. I think it's taken them a year to register with Coro. Mutual recognition of qualifications between Ireland and Britain and Ireland and the European Union, and a quick transfer, and not have the accreditation authorities seeming to hold these things up forever, when it's obvious that if somebody is good enough for the NHS, with no disrespect to the HSE, they're good enough for the HSE. And we, I think, would be taking severe umbrage if somebody in the NHS said that somebody who was good enough for the HSE and qualified here properly and all the degrees and all the rest wasn't qualified to work in England. And therefore, I'm not satisfied that the recruitment processes in the HSE and what that are adequate. I'm not satisfied that this problem has been taken seriously enough, that it needs crisis management. It seems always to me that when they do get to the point of recruiting and they do start doing the interviews, that it can take them 6 months or 9 months to make an appointment. Now, in what kind of world are we living in? In the old days, you did an interview, you provided all the paper qualifications, guaranteed that you had it, you provided the references, they were checked up, and with 3 weeks you'd have a job. I don't know what we've done in this country, because nothing ever seems to work anymore, nothing seems to move forward, and all we get is excuses, and all we get are children without a service. So, Minister, I hope you carry back to the line, Minister, my absolute frustration with this, and my determination to keep advocating for those children who should get early intervention and are not getting it.
Thank you, Deputy Ó Cuív. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Deputy Ó Cuív, and I will communicate to Mr. Rabbitte your frustration at the situation, and also ask her for her prediction or projection for when the services will be delivered. I think you can see from the answer that the problem seemed to stem from a lack of staff, that half of the positions in CDNT4 are currently vacant, and you've seen also in the answer that the HSE has turned to private service providers and has an allocation of nearly €7 million to provide an additional 2,500 assessments over the coming 6 months. So clearly they are trying other options. You've suggested that that we should look into better mutual or faster mutual recognition of qualifications from other jurisdictions, such as the UK, so that we can recruit staff faster, and I will suggest that to Minister Rabbitte. The HSE launched its first nationwide CDNT campaign in January of 2024, and following a further validation and engagement process which was undertaken by the lead agencies, the HSE advises that as of June 2024, 145 job offers have been made to successful candidates, with about 53 in the final stages of the recruitment process. The second recruitment campaign, applying learnings from the first campaign, is going to start shortly. So I wish to reassure you of Minister Rabbitte's commitment to working with the HSE in order to enhance CDNT capacity and find effective solutions to reduce wait times and to ensure that children and young people with complex needs have timely access to services in CDNT4 and of course across the country as well. So I will communicate to her your concern.
Could you ask the figures of how many of the people that are on that list that are in shortlisted are for CDNT4? Because it seems to me that in the peripheral areas we're once again being left out.
Many of the people recruited are for CDNT4, is that what you're asking? Yes, I will ask for that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Ó Cuív.